Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. And hello, Monica.
Hello, how's it going? We are going to talk about the 5 most important trends we found at the Future Publishing Mastermind 2024. Also, it's just in general the future of publishing. But we are actually going to we did this talk, 5 important trends in publishing. We did it back in September, and so we kind of wanted to do a basically like a check-in or a state of the industry. Oh yeah, sorry. I enabled the chat. It
Oh,
was I figured out how to do it, and randomly I am able to do it. So yeah,
all
the
right.
chat is open now. So chat away. Let us know where you're from. Let us know what you think of our New Orleans photos. Um,
Yes,
and also, if you have any questions, then definitely drop them in the Q&A box, and we'll
yay.
we'll kind of dismiss. Wow, there are lots of comments now. So anyway, if you're watching this on recording, welcome. We will
Yes.
go over some comments.
Ooh, someone from New Orleans native,
Nice.
Ontario, Portland. Amazing.
Southern
So,
PA. Oh, someone joining from Prague, from
ooh,
Hamburg.
my mother wants to go there next year, so maybe like we'll be there, not us together, because like again, not married, but we as a family will be there next year, I hope.
Yes.
Um,
California, Ohio, Daytona, Seattle, Texas, Bay Area, Alberta. Oh, somebody was married in New Orleans. Aloha from Big Island. Nice. Um,
oh,
BC, Canada. That's fun.
awesome. Some people who were there loved NOLA. Happy to be home. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
a long time. I was the last day I looked at Karen was like, it's been a week and a half. I'm ready to sleep in my own bed
I
and pet my
know.
dogs.
I know. I was the same because, like, I also have my children, and, like, when you're at an event, you would like to be done with the event and go back to your hotel room and go to sleep. And my children were awake. Like, no matter how late I stayed out, my children seemed to be awake and ready for me to come in and put them to sleep. So I really did not sleep as well as I wanted to.
Yeah,
All right. Slovakia. Somebody said they
Pakistan.
love Nola. This is like a very diverse
Yeah.
group. Um, Somebody said Sarah Cannon was in NOLA at the Mastermind. Yes, she was.
Yes, she was.
We had lots of dinners with her. All right. Okay, so we'll move on to trends. Let's see what, there we go. All right, so before we do that, we wanted to just let you know, since we had an announcement go out over email, we wanted to let you know that we are doing the Future of Publishing Mastermind next year in 2025. The dates are March 16th through 19th, and we are also doing bum ba dum another conference. So our second conference is going to happen right after the Future of Publishing Mastermind, and it is called Writer MBA Conference. And it will take place at the same hotel at the Hilton Riverside in New Orleans. It will be from March 19th through the 22nd. It's a 3-day conference, or maybe it's the 18th through the 22nd. Sorry. It'll be a 3-day conference. It is for up to 300 people. And we are super excited about it. And so we can explain. We wanted to just, since we have everyone on the call, we wanted to take a moment to kind of explain what we're doing and what we're excited about with that
Yes.
conference.
This one will be much less complicated to explain than last year where we had to explain the mastermind format. So like basically we heard from a lot of people last year, this is great. Like for maybe for reasons like $2,000 to $3,000 is a lot to a conference. I'd love to come join you, but like I want and I'm not at a place that's like high level enough to like get value from a mastermind. I'd like to like have a conference. Like I know what a conference is. So like let's have a conference. And we heard you. We couldn't just spin that up immediately, but we've been talking about it for about a year to find a way for like to welcome more people into the Writer MBA tent. And this is our hope to do so. So there's going to be a 2-day mastermind, then a vendor day, and then a 3-day conference. People that come to the mastermind can come to the whole thing. They do not have to come to the whole thing, but they have access to the whole thing. People that come to the conference, it does not go 2 ways. But like the conference will be similar to like conferences that you may have attended in the past, but with a Writer MBA twist. Monica, do you want to talk about that Writer MBA twist?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Like, we believe that, like, first of all, we're very supportive of all conferences, but we also believe that conferences, they're largely, they just have like a specific flavor to them that's often based on the people who are creating the conference. And so, if you like us, if you like the types of things that we talk about, then we think you'll also like this conference. And what we're doing, as you know, we focus on wide and direct sales. We focus on niche platforms that can be additional revenue outside of Amazon, but even like parts of Amazon. So like Amazon's got lots of new stuff going on all the time, but stuff that's like kind of alternative income streams to, the tried and true way of being an independent publisher. We also believe in, making weird books, and like, even though the book is not going to hit #1 on Amazon, we believe that you can still make a career of those books. And so that's a lot of what we teach. And so I think that's what the Writer MBA conference is going to be all about. We're also bringing in a lot of writers, not just authors. So people who are maybe superstars on newsletters or blogging or coaching or some other aspect, because I do think authors are becoming multivariate. I think that we have lots of different interests. We're seeing some of that on Kickstarter, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we kind of continue with this webinar. But we're seeing a bunch of just cross pollination of ways that writers can make money, not just through books. So that's a lot of what we want to bring is some of the stuff that's on the fringes, and we'll kind of just explain this a little bit more as we go on.
Just one last thing I just want to,
Yeah.
it is surprising that every time we open a new platform, so like we are become more diverse, and like we both started pretty heavily Substacks last year. Me, I think a little bit more than Monica, but like and to every time we open a new platform, it's like, wow, you do this part really well. I'd never even thought to do this part. Why don't you do any of these other things that like any of the other things do? And they're like, I didn't even know that was possible. So like Substack like is very Substack oriented, and Kickstarter is very Kickstarter oriented, and like they work together as an ecosystem, but like they each have their own strengths and weaknesses. And so we believe that every sort of platform and every avenue and every piece of the publishing journey has a little bit of the formula to success. And by bringing them all together, like you create this brain trust where like all of these information gets disseminated. I brought my comic stuff really to Monica in publishing when we did when we did when we did our first Kickstarter, and like I learned a ton. I think Monica learned a ton about how the comics industry works and how Kickstarter works. And like both of our businesses got better for it. And we just keep doing that little by little by little, like these, and off sometimes big by big by big, but like we find things that coaches are doing that really works. And like we bring that into our business. Or like I remember when I first learned about autoresponder sequences and no one in comics or books was doing it. And I was like, what if I just did it? And like, boom, like immediately $25,000 more a year I was making, like just by putting that one thing into my business. So those are, I think, the things that we're also looking to bring to this conference. What we brought to the future of publishing on a less structured level, what we're going to bring to the conference, I think, in a slightly more structured level to people who are Again, people at all levels.
Yes. So if you want to come to the Writer MBA conference or the Future of Publishing Mastermind, you can go to this website, writermba.com/conference, and you can read all about both events. Also, I do want to give you pricing. We are in an early bird special period until I believe at least the end of May. Like, we're gonna try to keep this open until the end of May. But now that said, that doesn't mean wait till the end of May, because it could sell out. Like, there are limited spots in both of these events and a lot of people interested. So definitely, if you want to go, you definitely want to reserve your spot. We have well, I'll talk about the Future of Publishing Mastermind first. So first of all, it's application only. It is currently in early bird, so it's $2,500 to come, but for attendees in early bird is $2,000. And there is also an industry guest thing. And do you want to talk about
Yeah.
that part?
So
Yeah.
we wanted to create something where we could have basically an approved list of vendors that you can notice just on site alone, that like they have our approval to be there, they have our approval to be selling things, like they are, like we have vetted them. And we didn't think that, like, when you do a 500 per 300 400 person conference, like it's just a lot harder to do that. So what we decided was, like, we were going to create this avenue for people who are maybe not sponsors, maybe like they are like one person who's an author service provider, or they are or like they provide a very niche area, and like they're just one person, where we're going to get a specific color of their lanyard that is going to signify that, like, we have basically vetted them and like they are acceptable to be doing the things that they're doing at the show. And so, including setting up at our vendor day, hosting one-on-one meetings, hosting events,
Right.
and all of the things that selling from stage, like speak, you can still speak from stage as an attendee, but you can't sell your services from the stage as an attendee without being an industry guest. So like most people are going to fall into the attendee realm. But like for those people that are doing author services, they might benefit from doing this area, especially if they want to speak as well.
Yeah, and so again, this is the Future Publishing Mastermind. It is a mastermind. Most masterminds are 5 to 10 grand a ticket. This we've tried to, just because we know this industry is selling books, we try to keep it at, about at cost, really. And if you want to be a sponsor for this, and like sponsor, to me, a sponsor is somebody who is like a company in the industry. So like you have a software, like, you have software, you have distribution, you're a retailer, like, that type of thing. Like retailers, software companies, agencies. So if you are a like larger company, like publishers, I'm trying to think who else, but definitely contact us for a sponsor packet rather than as an industry guest. The industry guest is more like if you're an editor, a coach, you sell books to authors, you sell courses to authors, and like you're kind of like a solopreneur company, then that is more the industry guest level.
Right.
All right. So, but what a lot of people are probably curious about is how much is the Writer MBA conference? So if you want to come to the Writer MBA conference, it's open to everyone. You do not have to apply. It's basically, first come, first served on the tickets. Keep in mind that Future Publishing Mastermind has a cap of 150 people at it, and all of them also get a ticket to the Writer MBA conference. So the tickets are somewhat limited on this conference, but you can buy a ticket just by itself. It's $500 for an attendee. It is $800 for an industry guest. And remember, these are early bird prices. And you can contact support@writermba.com again for sponsor packets. And for all of these, you can secure your spot with 10%. Yeah. So there's a 10 payment plan, monthly payments on every single one of these. So you could secure your ticket today for $50 basically, to come to the Writer MBA conference. And
And
then you
that's,
have
I think,
10.
the most important thing to just state for why you want early is like, even if we early bird to the end of May, we might not keep 10 paid to the end of May. Like we're going to start whittling it down as the months go on. So if you do want to get that 10 pay for 50, 80, 150, 200, whatever the other numbers are, like that is open currently right now. All right. Do you want to,
All right.
and you
Yeah,
can go there.
writermba.com/conference.
All right. So
All right.
let's get into the meat of this. Thank you all for letting us ramble for a couple of minutes about that. Like we know there was questions about it, so we wanted to get that out in front. Yeah, Monica, do you want to take us to number one?
Sure. So we're talking about the 5 trends, and the first one is this trend, which I think has been happening for the last year, is just authors moving from retailers to direct sales. And what this trend really has to do with, from my perspective, is being able to own your customer data, being able to make higher royalties, being able to own your sales funnel, algorithm proofing your business, even developing new streams of revenue so that you're not completely reliant on one stream, such as Amazon. Uh, but even and like even like if you are not wide with Amazon, still being able to develop new streams of income. So what do you so at Future Publishing Mastermind, we did have a retailers panel, which was really like a retailers and distributors panel. We also had Pierre-Alex Jante, who spoke about direct sales and talked about his Shopify store and like some of the agency stuff he does with his Shopify store. So what were some of your takeaways, Russell?
And we also had a direct sales panel
Yes, I apologize. We did.
so I feel like it was wild to watch the room, how much of the room was interested in direct sales and how much of them were. So it felt like before this conference, people were using their direct sales store as the overflow of people who really wanted, like people who bought their books on retailers, and then like some of them would trickle in to their direct sales store. What it felt the big shift to me that I saw was people saying the direct sales store is where I'm driving traffic. There's overflow that goes to my like retailers, but like I am focused on my direct sales store. And I will be honest, Monica, I've been doing direct sales a long time. I never thought I would hear that coming out of some of the most successful authors like that in the industry. And that is the one thing that I will say about the future of publishing. Like we had like the room was full of not every super successful author, but like everyone who was in that room was like pretty much like 80% of them were like 6 and 7 figure authors. And to watch them all make the shift to being direct first, or many of them making the shift to direct first, or even exploring being direct first was wild to me. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I have some thoughts on that. I think that, to me, I think it is interesting. I agree with you. And we've been seeing that trend in Facebook ads, especially. I think that it is, I think the reason it's happening is because of wanting to own the data. I also think just having like let's say your ad budget is $1,000 a month. Like obviously for many people that is like 10, 20,000, like some of the people were having bigger numbers than that, let's say. But let's say your ad budget for the month is $1,000. What people were saying is they were saying it was more profitable for them to put the full $1,000 toward direct sales and to point those people towards their storefront. I think it's a little, I think it is wise to think of retailers and direct sales as like two columns that like both hold up a house. And we've kind of always said this. We've been saying this for a very long time. It's always been kind of part of our core thing about like being wide and being direct. The reason I think it's really valuable is because I think that the readers are going to be different on those two things. So it's like I think that people are seeing a lot of success with direct sales right now by doing that. However, I don't think those readers are the same types of readers that buy on retailers. So it's like, to me, you're kind of like, maybe that person, has reached all the readers that they think they can reach on retailers. And so now they're looking at direct sales and trying to reach all the people there. And like, it's feeling good right now, especially because there's a lot of, it's like an untapped place, like an untapped source of readership. Um, but like, I think that those two things could be additive, rather like they could go together and like kind of be exponential together than like just trading retailer readers for like direct sales readers.
Yeah.
I do think oh, go ahead.
I was going to say that like somebody said, someone said I have tens of thousands of readers on retailers that want to buy that way, and like I'm going to let them. And like I do feel one of the things we talk about is like accessibility, and one of the things that feels like we're in a trend with like Netflix and all of these other places that we're like, we want exclusivity. Like we want to be the ones who are like controlling what people see. And then they take The Office off Netflix and like it does terribly. Well, not terribly. It does
Mm-hmm.
worse because it's like The Office isn't something you seek out. It's something that like is there as a comfort. And like people didn't want to go to Peacock to like watch The Office. They wanted to do, or like maybe you did, I don't know. But um it's really interesting to see this like the pendulum shifting more to like this accessibility area where it's like, no, it needs to be on retail. I put a bunch of my books back on retailers, which I had not thought that I would do. But like, you're so right, because people ask me a lot, like, why don't I drive traffic to my own direct sales store right now? And the answer is because the books aren't on retailers yet. And like the reason books were not on retailers yet was like long and sundry. It involved like redoing covers and redoing a bunch of
Right.
stuff. But then like trying to start like find the best way to do it to make it a gimmick. Like really, like I had this idea to like launch this in a way that would like also would also be like something that could help like authors like learn how to do launches and like around this. It's like a whole thing.
Yeah.
And like so I kind of was like, if I can't figure that out by our conference, I'm just gonna like launch all of the things. And like
Yeah.
I think I may have figured out a way in, but like I didn't think that because of specifically Steve Piper, when he came to our community, um, he said, there's up to a 5-figure, and at NIG last year, he said 6-figure overflow if you're driving traffic to a direct sales store. And it's like, well, even if there's a 3-figure overflow, like that's significant enough for me to like hold off doing driving traffic to my direct store until the books are at least up on pre-order. Um,
Right.
and I do think, I mean, what we talk about is the author ecosystem and like the way that these work together. It's really like retailers plus direct sales, because they can be like, each of them are just like Amazon. And wide Amazon for years was like, Amazon's going to be half your business and then retailers are going to be the other half. I think now it can be direct sales is going to be half your business and retailers are the other half, but they like combine together in an additive way.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing about direct sales is that like there are no like perfect like picnics, I guess. So like retailers have their challenges, but direct sales has its challenges too. And I think people and like authors as like a collective are starting to see more of those challenges with with the direct sales and with their like selling directly from their storefronts. One of those challenges that I see pretty regularly is that, let's say you have a bundle of books and it's $25 for that bundle. And like maybe you have like two bundles total, because there's a lot of books in the bundle. So like we're talking about somebody who has, 25 books right there. And so like 10 of them are in this first bundle, and like the rest are in like the second bundle. And the reality is that it costs, and the costs are going to keep going up. It costs, about $25 to get somebody to buy the $25 bundle. And then you have like one more thing to sell them. And so what people are seeing is that that overflow is literally their profit. And that's how direct sales works. Like in nonfiction, we kind of know that already because we have this thing called a tripwire, and like the tripwire is basically to like break even on, and it's like a $50 or less product. So I think like authors are starting to realize like, oh, like the $25 bundle is like not where the profit is going to be. Like the profit for any direct sales, anything, is in the cross sell, the upsell, the post purchase, the repeat customers. It's always in that. And a lot of people, like, honestly, first of all, like a lot of people don't even have a big enough catalog to make that funnel work on the fiction side, especially. But then if you do, it's like, okay, I did all this work, and now like the highest profit that I can have is that second bundle, and that's only if people buy it. So like the retailers kind of like balloon to be the other portion of the profit. And if you don't have both pieces in place, then like you're
Right.
really not catching that profit.
Yeah, I mean, they say that, a bump offer, like if one for a person places places an order, like 20% of those will take the bump, 20% of those will take the upsell, 20% of them will
Right.
take the downsell. And like there's not really like that's a lot of things to have with a book. Like I have like 40 books and it's hard for me to have an upsell and downsell. In fact, I just made a cross sell for like $50 that was like all of my digital stuff. And like it's actually going well now that I have two huge series or
Right.
three huge series. I have Ichabod, that's like a $25. I have like Gods vs. Chronicles, that's a $25 one. And I have like the Obsidian Spindle Saga, which is like that's three things that I can cross sell together. And so like it's only just getting to the point that like, oh, they're all like working together to make me money.
Yeah.
And like, so yeah, having the I was shocked that he would say that it would be so absurdly like that's a 5-figure overflow, even if you're making like 100 grand a month on a like to have 10 grand of money coming from a retailer that's just overflow from your direct sales traffic. It's still shocking. I'm saying it out loud and it's still shocking to me like that happens. But when I heard that, I was like, oh, because I was just gonna put the direct sales thing up and like figure it out later, like I
Right.
do. And now I'm like, oh no, like what if I just didn't what if I got out of my own way and didn't make this harder on myself and like set up all of these things to work together? So I really did wait until the Obsidian Spindle Saga had shipped to like get all of these in place because like the Obsidian Spindle Saga has a lot of overflow to my Gods vs. Chronicles book. They're both fantasy. They're both portal fantasy. Like they
Right.
have like similar vibes and themes. So like it was silly to not have them not be able to cross sell them both together. Especially if you're going to put so much money into this thing. But I do agree with you. Like I feel like the whole trick is like getting the self-liquidating offer tripwire to a place that you can get leads for free and then everything else is profit. And
Is the
like that
profit,
is
yeah.
to go back to what we were talking about like a little bits from everything. Like that's that's the thing that I learned, and I'm sure we both learned from like coaching and nonfiction. Like you have because it's so expensive to drive leads for nonfiction, you just had
Right.
to do
You
something
have
that
to,
costs
yeah.
like $20 to $50 in order to like make it work.
Right. The other thing, so regarding Pierre's talk, which I thought was brilliant, by the way, and I think, yeah, it's so cool to like have somebody kind of like, because we had this thing at the Future of Publishing where we did hot seats as well. So like Pierre did a couple hot seats with people, and one of the things that I believe is I believe that, like, after hearing Pierre talk, I think he's an aquatic. I originally thought he was an aquatic. Russell, then we chatted about it. Then we were like, oh, he's probably a desert. But like, I think he's an aquatic, and he is really focused on brand, which I think is really interesting. And so some of the stuff that he was talking about just really explained like why branding is so important for your website sales. And the other thing is that, I think like one of the big trends in website sales for authors right now is kind of like this one click website sale. So it's like a bundle, it's one click, like looking like the ad, like it's all Facebook ads looking specifically for buyers, not for people for a newsletter, not for readers, not for freebie seekers, like whatever. But what he was saying, and he made some really, really good points about this, is that you can't scale by going just after those one-click buyers. And this is something that Russell and we had been talking about as well, of like it's like you're getting buyers, and you may be getting a lot of buyers, but it's still a very, very certain type of buyer. And there are so many other types of readers and buyers out there that you're missing if you just focus on like this one strategy. And so he was talking about you cannot scale, like you can maybe, I mean, I hate to throw out numbers, but like whatever your numbers are, let's say your potential is like 100,000 for your store. And so maybe you're getting like 10,000 of that from these one-click buyers. But he was saying like you'll never be able to scale to the full potential unless you take a more like brand perspective, and like yes those one-click buyers are good, but also like there are so many other types of ads you should be running. And so his whole thing was about like additiveness as well, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna run. I think we should run through some of these questions because there's a lot of
Oh,
them.
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So quickly, uh, uh, can you say that Steve Piper assertion again? So he's saying that when you run ads to a direct sales store, there is a large percentage of people who then will not buy from your direct sales store and buy from a retailer. Maybe it's Amazon, maybe it's Barnes and Noble, maybe it's Smashwords, but like that is what he calls overflow, which is they're not buying for your store, but they are buying anyway. And this is something that actually like clothing brands like understand pretty well. Like they're like people are going to unknow the brand when they go into JCPenney, but they're going to buy from JCPenney. But like running the ad allows them to get more brand recognition. So like they get that again overflow. So hopefully that answers that question. That is the same overflow question that I answered. There will be a replay send out. And then the other opened one is the idea of a core series still central to your fiction business advice? And so it is core to my advice because, well, I'll talk about my own. Like a signature series to me is what this is all about, because until you have enough books in a series to break even, you don't have enough books in a series to bundle together either. So like the bigger your series is, the more you can charge for it and the more you can spend on it and the more impressive it looks. Like I have a 12 book series that like I can bundle for $25. So like people are going to buy that faster than they're going to buy a 6 book series that looks roughly the same theoretically, because like that is not much of a savings. You just get more and then you can bundle the more into more. So yes, I think that it is. You do have more, but like I think that standalones have a place too, because in my upsell, that's $50, like, which I'm just realizing is probably too cheap. But like I wanted to see if it worked at $50. But like all of the books that like are like And in the Dark Place, Void Calls us home, My Father Didn't Kill Himself, sorry. Like, there's just a bunch of books that do no work for me. By work, like I, I mean, by work, I mean they don't sell. Like they don't sell ever. Like even the books they put back on retailers, like they don't sell. Like but they do sell as a bundle. So there is value in having them all together as a thing to get more thing. But yes, I do think that probably multiple core series are like needed to make this whole rigmarole work. And then when someone does overflow into a Amazon, they're definitely going to be reading like you still want them reading one series without having to break because they probably will break if the series stops. Does that sound right, Monica? Or like,
Yeah, I mean, I believe in the course series as well. I think it's just kind of like one of those best practices of being an independent author, and really being an author, I think too. But like, yes, I do think that core series is important. And I agree with what Russell said. I think one thing about the standalone books, if you can use that standalone to be like similar to your series, but also like as wide reaching as possible. And I think that's like the key to writing a standalone that like makes money. It is much easier to promote a standalone with ads. And so I've seen people do that really well where, they just get like, and you really want your concept to be almost like a movie. Like it needs to have like just a crisp, like interesting log line. And so, and again, like I'm talking more like if I were to build a standalone that were going to support my business, because like a standalone is always like it has that possibility of like hitting really high on the charts, whereas a series is going to kind of like it can be intimidating for people. Like not all readers want to get into a series. And so, with traditional publishing, you see people like you see authors who kind of like are really good at like making that first book kind of like that killer concept. And then like maybe it's like a trilogy or something after. But yeah, that's the thing with the standalone. I think if you can stack it to be like as broad reaching as possible, I think it can do a lot for your backlist as well.
yeah, and I think that like someone like Christopher Moore does a really good job of like having side characters be plus. I mean, all romance does
Right.
this.
Romance, yeah,
So like
romance.
it's like, a trilogy, but then there's another trilogy, but the characters are also in the other trilogy. So if you love a character in the second book, you can go back and find like it just like they keep adding to itself and it's like small town and all of those things. Like, and I
Right.
think specifically with what you do, person who made that comment, like you do a lot of small town, but like slice of life, like YA drama things, and like they could all be going to the same school, or like they could all be going to different schools in the same city, or they could be like on vacation and brought on like all of those things can like make it a standalone and then also a series, which I don't know if was your question, but we did sure get onto that topic. All right. Do you have a different avatar for retailer buyers versus direct sales buyers,
I
Monica?
mean, that's a big question. I put it down on like our spreadsheet too. Uh, Gosh, that's such a big question. I think like the biggest thing is retailer buyers are going to be more casual readers. Um, like they're not like, I mean, retailers can reach a broader audience than any of us can. Like even if you're using Facebook ads, like a retailer is going to reach a broader audience just like by like they have so much built into the brand. Like, obviously like Barnes Noble like could reach more readers than like Monica Leonelle could. Like that's just
Right.
so that's I mean, to me, that's the biggest thing. I think most of the overflow is probably people see the ad and they're like, I don't want to buy 11 books. I
Right.
actually just
Just
want
want the
to like
one.
try one. I know I am that type of buyer. Like when I think about a retailer buyer, like I am a retailer buyer. Like I will not buy from your store, and it's mostly about convenience. I yeah, I don't want to enter my credit card somewhere, even if it's like saved on my computer or like it's just like that extra thing where like I can go to a retailer and it's like they have my credit card and it shows up in my reader already. Like I don't have to like click links in my email. And so
Yeah.
I do think that they're different buyers, but I also think for like the right, because when we talk about direct sales, like everybody always says website sales, and we can fall into that trap too. But like for the right author, I will buy direct, I will buy something from them. So I'm thinking of like Cassandra Clare on Kickstarter. Like I bought like her like recent campaign and bought it like a ridiculously high level and like because I'm a huge fan of her. And so I do think that direct sales, it is either like I like before 2023, I thought direct sales was going to be more focused on your fans. Um, now that we're in 2024 and I've seen some of the other stuff that people are making work, I still think that, but I also see that there is like this one click buyer who maybe is like a whale reader who wants a deal on 11 books or whatever. Like we're seeing some of that work really well as
Yeah.
well.
So my answer is no. I don't have a different person because I rely on psychographic data, or I think we rely on psychographic data way more than demographic data. And when you have an avatar, when you have different like a retailer buyer is going to have different, like the middle of the market for like a retailer buyer might be older. It might be whiter. It might be more affluent. It might be less affluent. Whatever platform you're advertising on also can change. But generally, like psychographics don't change. Like if you resonate with Monica and my work, like you probably have been an author before. Like you probably are having struggles hitting the revenue goals that you want, and you like probably like want to turn this into a business on some level. Like you want to have success doing it. This is not a hobby for you. Even if it's a hobby now, like that's not your mindset, probably. Now, I've met 20-year-olds who are like that. I've met 60-year-olds who are like that. I've met everyone who is like that, but like that is a constant across all of the things and most of that's not everyone, but like in general, like the one who's going to get the most from the work that like we do, I think does incorporate a lot of that stuff. And on top of that, like in my fiction, like regardless of whether it's like my convention stuff or my Kickstarter stuff or even my retailer stuff, when I hear about it, like look, you probably went through a punk phase. You probably went through an anti-authoritarian phase. Like you probably like are like not super excited about capitalism. Like you just like that's just kind of the doesn't matter like what how old you are, like the psychographics, which is all right. So psychographics are like the internal triggers and such that make you up. The demographics are kind of like the outside things that make you up. Um, Stays consistent, I think, much more across all platforms than the demographics do.
So we have a couple more questions. One, so somebody who came to the event asked if we can talk about like how do you take, so what people are talking about with website sales, how do you take that and make it make sense for like a forest? So author ecosystems, hopefully you're
Sure.
familiar with that. If you're not, go to authorecosystem.com and you can take our quiz. But Forest is like one of the 5 ones. What are your thoughts, Russell?
I mean, so first I would say to the people that were at the event, like go take our direct sales accelerator course because like it's basically like direct sales for like not deserts. Um,
It really is. And if you come to the Future of Publishing Mastermind, you get all of our courses as part of that bundle.
yeah,
I
so
just felt
everyone
like
who was
we should put that out
there
there.
has it. You
Yes,
can
you
just
have
take
it
it.
already.
And
Yes.
like my so like I feel like the model that Monica and I have is very like forest friendly because like notice like this is not how a presentation should look. Like this is not like we don't have like 1,000 slides. Like we have just talked on this one slide for like 30 minutes without doing anything. We started with like pictures of our like the children
Of our
and like
food.
and food that we did like and still like a significant portion of the people that started with us are still here on the calls. So like I
Yeah.
feel like we can talk about this to some degree because like while we know all of the ways to optimize, we optimize for I think enjoyment of our fans and enjoyment of us as well. And we believe that when we are enjoying ourselves, like the people who resonate with us are enjoying ourselves. And like I just don't enjoy like flashy like things or like buy now stuff. Like I there was a time I went through it and I hated it then, but I still like tried to use it because like that was the thing. And like now, so my feeling is you should be working on things that are further at the beginning of the life cycle of when a user would know you. So, like, you are like for website sales, like you're looking for someone who is ready to buy right now. And like, if you did more brand advertising, like low ticket, just literally you pick up a book and you're like, hey, like this is Emily Kimmelman is a great example of this. She just like
Yes.
literally will talk about like in ads, just like about her philosophy on life. And like, yes, does she have some ads that are like the dog doesn't die, but the bad guys do? Yes, but like a lot of her advertising is like brand and building. And I have never met Emily Killman, and I love her already. Like I just and
Yeah.
like so those kinds of things happen before the like the point in the funnel that Pierre's talking about. And so if you start getting people further along here and nurturing on the journey longer and longer and longer, like they will buy from you and they will be better buyers. Like they just will because like they'll take chances on your weird things. Like they'll they'll like buy your conference even though you didn't have a date or like a time that you were doing it just because they trust you. Like all of those things happen when you nurture people earlier in the cycle. And so that doesn't mean you're not doing this part. It means that like maybe you're not fully optimizing everything because like you just want it to be done, but you're making up for it by like doing brand advertising and doing all this stuff and doing all the cross posting and like being in the right groups and like doing all the nurturing to fans and community that like get you to the point that Pierre is getting at through ads, but just through a different kind of ad.
Yeah. So his name is Pierre Alex Jante. Jante is like Jean, Gean, and then Ty. Um, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. So yeah, he's cool. And he did a really phenomenal presentation. But I also think like I think that for a forest specifically, I agree with Russell. Like basically everything Russell said. Focus on the brand awareness. Um, focus on yes, more of like a there's this woman who does Facebook ads who says like have them at hello is her brand. But focus more on that type of thing. And like if you look at what Pierre's doing, a lot of his ads are actually not they're not like things that would be like, hey, go to this landing page, then click here, you know, like they're not that type of
Yeah,
deserty thing. Like I don't think he's like really that deserty actually. I think he's quite brand focused already. So like it kind of goes with some of this, but I also think that you know, the types of ads he does are like people holding the product, like people just holding the book. He has like pictures of like the book in context, like on a shelf, that's like really nicely made up, you know, and like I think the book itself even and the merchandise and stuff like that, like he does a lot of pictures with them, he does a lot of testimonial videos, reviews, stuff like that. So I do think there's just a lot there that is worth looking at. I also think like our stuff is like neither of us really like optimizing ads at all.
Yeah. But that said, like I did hire a growth team to optimize ads and like act as a desert. So like I don't want to make this because like just because you don't like doing a thing is not an excuse for not doing a thing. So like sometimes you just have to like suck up and do things you don't like. And like part of that is like finding a reliable way to bring traffic into your business in some way or another. And so like not saying you should do ads, I just like I think at some point like it will be a priority for you to either hire out that or like learn it yourself. And hiring out stuff is great. You don't have to learn anything then.
All right. So do you want to move on?
Yes, let's move on.
Um,
We'll do
yeah.
all these questions on the next one, whatever the next one is.
Yes. Okay, so the next one is distance to presence. The basics of this trend that we talked about before is really going live and like just being live and available in your audience more. Um, Also, so that could be in person, it could be on live streams, it could be like one-on-one accountability or like group stuff. It could be like if you're in nonfiction, it could be like coaching or consulting. But basically, it could also be just like showing up on social media, even like doing things more in real time. Like there's this value of like real timiness. So did you want to do you want to start us off, Russell, with
Yeah,
thoughts on? Yeah, go ahead.
so I really like Oriana's presentation for one, but like the thing that really got distance to presence for me was just like the breakthrough sessions and like watching people be present. Like, so how the breakthrough sessions work was there were six people around a table and they all got 10 minutes to talk about their biggest problem and like get solutions from the other five people or roughly five people around them and then like bounce back and forth. And like, I swear to you, that 10 minutes felt more valuable to some of those people than the last year that they spent. Like some people were telling me like that was like the most valuable 10 minutes of their year. And we did it twice. So like maybe it was 20 minutes of their year. But like to just be able to be present, and literally put the distance at like you close the distance to one table and then you are present like did more for a lot of people than like all of the reading and all of the other stuff. And the reason is because like you have that immediacy. Like all of these questions that you're asking are edge cases or like things that like you probably can't get an answer to like easily online. So like you're here to like listen and let your mind be present and then ask the question so you can get an answer that can move you forward really quickly. And so like that is also true in fiction because like we talk a lot about nonfiction. So in fiction, we are also servicing a need. Like the person has a hole in themselves that they want something to fill in, and your fiction fills that hole of having agency or like recovery or like survival or like making them feel seen or making them feel like they like they're not alone or like whatever that thing is. Like we are still being present to fill that with our work to fill that area. And I think that it's not to get off on a rant, but like we often think that fiction and nonfiction are different, but like they're really similar because like we're every single person that is writing is servicing a need. And a lot of people who are effectively like Forrest, for instance, are saying, the need I'm trying to fill is found family. And they're like, yep, there's a way to do it. 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 And they're seeing it in 20 different genres. There are so many nonfiction people who like write a fiction book to tell the same point because it breaks through a barrier in a different way. So like it's not exactly one-to-one overlapping the things you can do, but like it's way closer than we think because we're all like filling some need with somebody and being present with them is like the way to have them unblock and understand that like, oh, my need has been filled, or I know I don't even know that I now know the need that I was trying to be fulfilled.
So, not to call you out, somebody in the chat said, I guess you said dissimilar instead of similar.
No, I said Dimmler. Dimmler is
Oh, dissimilar
similar
is like
plus
perfect.
different. It's
Okay, it's like purposeful. All right,
yes.
cool. And that is what the person was asking. Does that mean different plus similar?
Yes.
Dissimilar. It was not a mistake. Dissimilar. Yes, I agree with what Russell said. I think like another way to do this for your readers is really like a lot of authors don't want to do this, but getting on video. And I know we talked about this earlier, and it's actually relevant to this topic too. But one of the things that Emily Kimmelman does is she will get on video, kind of like a TikTok style video, a vertical video, and she will just talk about her what she has like kind of unpacked this in author groups, but basically she's said that she thinks about essentially the themes of her book, which we again equate with that like oftentimes with like a forest style of marketing, but she thinks about the themes of her book and like the emotions that the book creates, and then she makes a video that hits on the same emotions. So almost like exactly what Russell was talking about. um
Or a blog post or something. Like it does not have to be
yeah.
video or audio. Like it's so interesting how like when I post something on Substack or I watch someone post something on Substack, people are like, I feel seen, thank you, all of these things.
Right.
It's like the same thing. Like yesterday, this morning, someone was like, I read this post 2 times and it like totally changed the way I do business. I have like this question and this question and this question. Other people are like, oh, I didn't know this was an issue. That like now I understand what the issue was. So like it does not have to be any one format. It does have to be a format somewhere. Sorry, I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah. So I think like if you come to the Writer MBA conference, I think that the value of presence is going to be there as well. So we're not doing Future Publishing Mastermind. We're doing the breakthrough sessions. They were super popular. They did really well. We're intending to do them again next year. If you come to Writer MBA Con, the value of coming in person, aside from just meeting people, is that you will be able to talk to vendors. You'll be able to get answers to questions that are either not findable online, which I think is really kind of unbelievable in many ways. But it's also just like the one-on-one like clarity for your business, because sometimes you can hear something and like it may be like you have to figure out how to apply it to yourself, almost always it seems like. And I think the value of being at the conference in person, we're going to have companies there that honestly don't attend any other conferences in this industry, or don't attend many other conferences in the industry. And
Yes.
I think that's going to be a huge value. Same with, the speakers as well. They're like most of the speakers at Future Publishing Mastermind, like we had seen their presentations before, one or both of us had, and we know them. And like I still was just learning so much from people that I've, like Mallory Cooper, for example, like I'm friends with her, and we used to meet weekly in an accountability group together. And so I know her, I know how she thinks, but then like seeing her kind of do her thing on stage, even though I've seen her present before like a bunch of times, but like this particular time, there was just so much more that I could gain from it that I can't gain from like being in her group or like reading her books, which all of which I have also done. But it's just a way to like really get to like something deeper, I think too. And I
Yeah.
think that's what the in-person experience is, and something that both of us like really believe in and really foster at our events.
I agree. And for the people that may have come on late, like we have a conference. It's called Writer MBA. And it's at writermba.com/conference. Yes, you should come. It's great. We just did our first inaugural, and there was a bunch of great food and great people, and we're going to expand it next year. More at writermba.com/conference. only did that because someone asked. And I was like, and so, but
Yes,
that
I see
is a
that.
interest. We are on a webinar for the thing that like that like our conference, and like still on this event, there are people right now who do not know about it. So like, what do you think the chances are that people don't know about your thing if like
Right.
the people on this call do not know about it when we spent the first 10 minutes on it? This is not to call that person out. Like, I just want, like, people always say, like, am I doing more marketing? I'm like, I don't know. Like, there were people literally at like messaging Tadra at the event saying, why did I not know about this? And it's like, I don't know. We spent
Right.
a year talking about this event. So
Yes.
like, but like, I think the overall thing is like, how can we like fill the, yeah, I mean, I said it before, filling the need of like the reader. That does not necessarily mean that like you show up at their house and go, you're doing a great job, but like you should, like, you are present in there, which partially goes into the retailer part too, because like part of presence is being available. Do we have any other
Yes.
questions that we?
There's a question that I think goes well with this is what is your current suggestion how to find or create a market? Is the Chris Fox method still relevant? The Chris Fox method, I think, is and it's not really he basically wrote a book on it called Right to Market. And so the idea was use Amazon's data to figure out what a center of the market book is, and then like read other books in that genre that you think are center of the market according to Amazon's data, and essentially, like, I don't want to say replicate that because it's not like copying it, but like write your book according to those things and
Yeah.
try to push the same algorithmic buttons that that book pushes in Amazon with your book.
Which is a desert, which is a desert. So like if you ask what is our current market strategy, like, I mean, just the author ecosystem, like that's it. Like we have a whole thing at authorecosystem.com, at authorEcosystems.substack.com. Like that is there's 5 market fits, and you should embrace the one that's most to you, find a
Right.
path to success, expand out from there into the other ecosystems to build your business.
Yeah. Yeah. I think do that if you're a desert, and like most other types are not. Like most people that we attract are not deserts. So yeah, like that one's okay. We answered this one live, the one that says, what do you think about presence by writing in a story or a blog post? I think it can work. I think and like it seems to work really well on Substack. I think that video can work better.
I mean, it works great for me. Like I mean, I have a serial. So what people ask, because if you're on my Substack, you probably are on my Substack if you're like on this call. Like I post a lot and people ask me how that's possible. And like one of the things I share is just like a chapter of my long running series every week. And like that just is like, to me, that's like the marker of I know how things are going by like looking at how well that performs. And but like, so yes, I think that like I'm someone with like a lot of comorbidities and chronic illnesses. So when I hear video or audio, I'm not like, I don't like that. I'm like, I physically can't do those things. And so I always am like, well, I can't, like, I'm a writer, so like I gotta have a successful business, and how do I do that? And one of it was like I just took this series that you see behind me and I started serializing it once a week, could be 3 times a week, whatever. And like that is a way to be present. Like that is and retain some sort of space, take up some sort of space in your reader's mind, so you're there. So it's like I do a roundup like once a week as well, but like something that you are in service of. And that I think is like the big change. It's even more than like a distance to presence. It's like, who do you serve? Like, and how are you serving them? And are you being of service to those people?
So the third one is kind of leads in from what Russell was saying. It's backlist to subscriptions. The this trend is really focused on it's really this idea, and it's a little bit confusing. So let me try to parse it out, and Russell can kind of correct me. It's really this idea that in the past, the way that authors made money was from their backlist. Like that was the guideline, that was the best practice. And Michael Evans from Ream, about a year ago, we were chatting with him on a call, and he pointed out that the strategy of like backlist and rapid release on a retailer is really no different than a subscription. So his whole point was like, and Ream is a subscription service, so I want to put that out there. But his whole point was, hey, like the author business is already a subscription. Um, and he's like, the only thing that's shifting is now we're actually in control of like getting, of the mechanisms to get the person to subscribe. Because if you look at, if let's say you're doing rapid release and you're doing 12 books a year, which most of us can't do anyway. But that was kind of the best practice and how people were doing well on retailers. But let's say that that's your pattern, you are basically trying to get somebody to subscribe to something at $5 a month, by buying each book as, over the course, like one book a month. And so with this trend, we're seeing just this concept of like having that ongoing relationship with readers, belonging to something, and having your brand as an author, or your community as an author, be part of that person's identity, more than being like a hobby or like just a thing they interact with, being part of that person's life in a bigger way. We're also just, the mechanism to do this is newsletters. So Russell was talking about what's been working in his Substack newsletter, but we're seeing, a newsletter is not just a newsletter anymore. So I think that the way authors were using newsletters is just like, I have these retailer sales, like a small percentage of those people, let's say 5% or less, come to my newsletter, join my newsletter. And then when they join that newsletter, I send them updates on my release schedule. Essentially, like when I have a new book, I send an update. We are seeing that cut, like the concept of a newsletter and the way indie authors think about it being like extremely outdated. And what we see kind of replacing that is this idea of subscriptions. And so Substack is there, Patreon is there, Ream is there. Even like Russell and I were talking about like Kickstarter, and how and how the comics industry already uses Kickstarter as kind of like a subscription service almost. But how you can use Kickstarter as a subscription essentially, or do subscriptions through there. And so what we're seeing is a lot of authors focusing more on subscriptions, also using their backlist at retailers is just a backlist, it's just a book catalog. But on a subscription, it's like endless content. So people are really like putting their backlist through kind of like this subscription process as well. And we're seeing that on Kickstarter. We're seeing it on like actual subscription platforms like Ream and Patreon and Substack. Okay, so I'll let Russell say more words about this.
Yeah, I would just say like one of the things is just buy-in, right? Like and a lot of people like say buy and like it's like specifically a like sales mechanism, but like really what the subscription allows you to do, what I'm seeing is people asserting that they still want to be in your audience more often and with more fervor. So like there are almost 30,000 people on my Substack now, but like there's 500 people who are paid members, and like but like that doesn't mean the other 27,500 are not subscribing and bought in, because like every time you send something you are like buying in to what they are saying. And like part of the sadness of unsubscribing is someone is like, I no longer buy into the thing that you're saying. But people are like, oh, I don't want to send my email too much. But like every time you do, it's a chance for people to affirm and assert like this is a thing that they do care about and that they want. And to me, more than subscription, it's really like, how can you make that assertion like active more often than you are now? And part of that is like taking your backlist and making it active. I feel like Elena is like a genius at like doing this stuff. Elena Johnson, who was there, she like is like, oh, cowboy romance, like single dads are hot. Here's 7 books in my back catalog that like are, but she's doing that through her newsletter, and she's like sending these things to like, it's not like I get them often enough that like, but I don't buy all of them. But like I am asserting that I still want to get them by staying on by opening it and staying on the newsletter. Even if I am not clicking necessarily every single one of those, I still want to hear about it. And it is still a subscription because she is like, subscribe to me by buying these 7 books for like $20 or like or whatever. But more importantly, like, how are you helping people assert that like they are part of your community, and how can you make them an active member of that community and then more active in that community by like filling the needs and being of service to them? um yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so Reem was at we just talked about Reem and Michael Evans, but they were both founders. Well, 2 out of the 3 founders were at the event. Uh,
Oh, and someone said like
yeah, go
the
ahead.
thing about Kickstarter and Reem. Were you gonna do that? Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
no,
Is that
go for it.
Oh,
Go for it.
like someone said, "Oh, isn't it great that like, yeah, it's great that Ream is doing more Kickstarter integration." That happened on our panel at the Future of Publishing. That is the reason why that it happens, because on the panel, Michael was like, "Yeah, I guess you can do that. Like, why couldn't you do that? Because you can't do it on Substack." So like, anyway, sorry. Is that
Yes. So what we're talking about is so Reem is more than happy because both Kickstarter and Reem are in ways part of the crowdfunding revolution. I don't know if I mean Kickstarter's been around for like 15 years, so I don't know how much of a revolution it is, but basically they both essentially are part of the crowdfunding discussion, same as Patreon, and some of, you're being funded by your patrons, your fans. And he was saying that you can offer a Ream coupon, so somebody can get like a trial of your Ream subscription in a tier on Kickstarter. It can't be offered by itself because that's trying to circumvent their payment system, and you can't do that. But if it's part of a tier on Kickstarter, they are happy to have that, which came out at our event. And then after we talked about it, like a couple of days later, when they got back, they actually created a policy on that. And so you can, and it's like, it's a policy, it's going to be, and it is currently an official policy. But it's a really exciting thing. It's something that we wanted some platform to be willing to do. But basically, if somebody is a big enough fan of your stuff and buys something from Kickstarter, they can now also get a trial of Ream, your subscription on Ream, and then that like puts them on your email list, first of all. But then like when that trial's over, they can upgrade. Ream also recently launched limited tiers. So if you want to essentially like do kind of a Kickstarter type thing, but you don't want to set up a whole Kickstarter, you can just put a tier out that's like let's say you're just like, I have a book box, and I want to do a tier on my Ream that's like 3 monthly payments, and then at the end of that you get the book box. So it's a way that somebody can upgrade to that tier, do their 3 monthly payments or whatever it is, and then when those payments are over, they get automatically downgraded to the tier that they were originally at. You don't have to remind them. You don't have to be like, okay, well, if you stay on this tier, you're just giving me extra money, which was kind of like the solution before. So I think it's a really exciting thing the way Kickstarter and Ream are going to work together. Kickstarter was at the event. Reem was at the event. They were on the panel together, and like it was really cool to just see like how they can integrate. I think it makes a lot of sense for those two things to work together. Like one
Right.
is a one-time payment, the other is a like be part of my community ongoing payment, and like those two things like they should work together. And Reem and Kickstarter were excited to explain to us how it could.
Sure.
Okay, so let's move on. So the fourth one is the fourth trend is gatekeeping versus accessibility. And so some of the things that were talked about was uh, AI tools. So we've talked a lot about AI being accessible, being for accessibility. That was one of the things that came up, and we did have a panel on AI that was led by the Future Fiction Academy people, and had a couple other people on it. We also talked about this idea of like disruptors and gatekeepers. So we talked about how historically, for example, Amazon was a disruptor. And like indie publishing, is largely here because of Amazon, because they created Kindle Direct Publishing. At one point, it was a disruptor to the publishing industry. Now it has, in some ways, become a gatekeeper to the industry because it holds all the data, and like the customer data is kind of like invisible to us. We don't have any of it.
And it forces you into KU exclusivity too, literally gatekeeping you from being
Right.
on other
Literally,
platforms.
yes, literally gatekeeping. So like having KU, and other, it's not just KU. There's also Kindle Vella, has some exclusivity. Not the same exclusivity, but some. There's also their new like AI audiobook beta that has some exclusivity, and like so there's also Audible that has exclusivity. So yeah, they, we kind of consider them to have become a gatekeeper, but they're not the only ones, right? Findaway Voices is another really good example of a company that came in to disrupt Audible, and get like all the other places that you can distribute audiobooks in like one simple like distribution platform. And they're really the only company that has done that. Even to this day, there's a couple other distributors, but none are Findaway, right? And then they were purchased by Spotify. And so like, and which is all good, but like since Spotify purchased them, I think a lot of authors feel like the things are shrinking, and there are new terms of service that are problematic, and there are all sorts of issues. And like you can't really do audiobooks well without Findaway Voices by Spotify, which is their official name. And so again, it's like this disruptor has become a gatekeeper, and this pattern is not, it's not unique to these companies. It's actually just like the business model of tech. I
Right.
think that's like a big important thing to note, is that like it's just this, yeah, it's like what tech does. So the accessibility part of it is really what we care about, which is like being wide, being direct, being in as many places as possible, kind of despite like what the business model of big tech is, and like what they want. There's a book by Cory Doctorow called Choke Point Capitalism. Like what a big tech company is like born to do, basically, or created to do, is kind of the opposite of what we authors want a lot of the time.
Yeah, but it's super interesting because like Spotify then went from keeping all of their podcasts like exclusive to like putting them on other platforms as well. So like I think we were talking about how like the pendulum swung pretty far to the like keep all of your proprietary things, and like now it's kind of swinging back the other way, and like guess what, it's going to swing back the other way because like that's just what it does. Like it's just like it's gonna
Right.
be on the other side of it, and like we're gonna be on trying to like make a business between there. The other part of this when I think of accessibility, going back to my chronic illnesses, is like takes a lot to be all of these places. And one of the things that I saw was like, wow, AI can help me be in a lot of these places at once. Like it can help me um it can help me expand out the ways that I can be found without expanding out the way that the amount of energy that I expose myself to by doing it, because I have the energy to like push one way and like do a little bit of pushing this way, but I only have room to do it on like one platform. So like between chatbots and like Zapier and all of these things, like there's just ways that we can use tech to be more accessible to people without taking away like the human touch that we want to have.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. One other thing we talked about at Future Publishing Mastermind was just this idea that, a lot of companies, and like the best practice of these companies is to hold on to the customer data. And so as authors, we've kind of had more of this movement in the last year of like, we actually want that customer data. We want to have that personal relationship with our customers, and like if we don't have that customer data, it's actually really dangerous to our business because an algorithm can come along and kind of wipe it out. And so I really commend Kickstarter, and again, they were at the conference, but really Kickstarter is like a platform that like is could kind of be considered like in big tech in many ways. And it's also a platform that really cares about relationships, and that like has always had the customer data exposed to the creator, and has still been able to grow and still been able to do really well. And so like the thing we talked about was just like challenging the companies that were there, and like even just challenging the way we think about it. Like, is that customer data so valuable to a retailer, to whoever, that it can't be shared? And you look at Kickstarter, and like part of their growth has come from sharing that customer data with creators, because as creators do well and make more money, they're like, I'm going to come back to Kickstarter. And it's really, I think that like so much of the power is often with the platform. But like it is, Kickstarter is like one of the longest standing models that I've seen, where it's like they're showing you like, hey, we can actually like all grow together. Like and like they're really good about that. And I think like it was just, for me, it's like challenging that notion, like, does Amazon really need to like keep all their customer data under lock and key, and like that customer's Amazon's and not the authors? Or if they did share that, like could they grow even more? So I don't know,
Yeah.
just some thoughts on that. Okay, so moving on. The last one, and we do have a bonus one. The last one is casual readers to fandom. I feel like we've talked about this one quite a bit. Do you want to
Yeah,
chat more about it?
I just want to say that this goes back to the conversation we were having about retailers and overflow, where like these two things can exist together and like must exist together. Actually, Jane Friedman had a great article about Substack the other day that was about paywalls and how like paywalls are all fine and good, but like you also need to be found by people, because like if you're not found by people, those people can never develop into paid fans of your work. And like we're in a time now where like there's a lot of people are saying like I'm only gonna release things in like to my paid subscribers. And like Jane really reminded me that most of the most of the time that like I've had a newsletter, that newsletters have existed, like they've just been like free things that like we did to like grow our audience and like provide value to them. And so I think that like while it's been this hardcore swing to fandom, like I can just see already there's going to be like a swing back to like we actually need discoverability, because what happens is like you monetize all the people and it's great, like you're like, wow, I monetized all the people. Like there must be so many more people. And then there's like not more people. And then your business practices just like lock you into a way. And I just read Monday said like this exact thing, like they were getting to a place like they couldn't grow because all of their stuff was paywalled. And
Right.
like they couldn't they couldn't do what they like it was locking they hated it, like the people who were finding their publication hated it, like the fan like then it felt like it was all just like take, which is neither here nor there, but like it's so like once you monetize all of the things like you have to grow again, like and then you can monetize those people again, and it's like a ecosystem where like you have to both grow and then like have these flush out clear out events that like allow people to buy your work. But like if you're just, and we see this all the time, like unhealthy tundras do this all the time, they don't grow, they only launch, and like the audience doesn't grow, they just keep getting the same amount. And I mean, I've been pretty open, I don't know publicly, but like I haven't really grown my email list, like my fiction email list, since 2020. Like in a real substantial way. I have not invested in it the way I used to. And like, is it shocking that I make the same rough amount now per campaign than I did like 5 years? I'm actually surprised that like it has been so stable roughly until like this year. But like I haven't done anything to grow it. So like why would it grow? Like so so yeah, I think that we're in this world where like it's been all fandom, and before then it was like all casual readers, and like I think we're entering a world where it's like casual readers lead to fans, and like sometimes fans become casual readers as well, and like that's also okay, and like we need this thing to go both ways.
Yeah, so some of the comments were interesting. Not all your fans can afford to pay, or they can't afford to pay for everything that excites them. And so then they start to get burned out on the subscriptions.
Oh yeah, I've
Um,
talked about this a lot, actually, because when you grow your business and you have multiple things to sell, like people go from buying the thing because they're supporting you to like actually buying the thing they want or not buying at all. So like it's a very different, once you grow, that is absolutely the case as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a couple other threads to this trend. One is like the reason that it has swung towards fandom, which like really again, like all of these trends probably are like we should have a balance, but we were just so far on the one side, and now we're like learning about this other side of the spectrum. But I think the reason for that swing has been because you can make more, like there's more money per reader. A reader is willing to spend more as part of your fandom than they are on like a retailer where they're probably just buying an ebook and it's probably like $5, or maybe $7 or whatever it is. Maybe it's $3. I don't know. But so I think that's one of the reasons that it has swung. I also think that the fandom piece, it points more towards brand advertising, which has not been a thing that authors have done like at all. Like authors mostly do cost per click advertising. That's like most of what's taught. And a lot of that is like optimizing and blah, 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 blah. So the brand awareness stuff, I think, comes into play again. And so, and we've talked enough about these on this call that like we probably don't need to go too deep into them. Um, but I think, you know, and I think we think that these work together. I know on Substack, like I noticed that as well, like very quickly, that like you need at least 50% of your stuff to be like public, like free. Because like if you don't like you don't like you said you don't have that growth mechanism, but also like you need to be servicing that pool of free people because like that's where your paid subscribers come from. So
But
yeah,
also
it's
like your growth, your word of mouth, which we don't talk about either. Like those free people, like are just more of a brand that like more people know about you, and then they go out on their own and like do things, or just like you are in their presence, and like there is just value in more people knowing about you. And I am shocked I have to say that in 2024, but I feel like I do. Like, especially when you are newer, like more people have to know about you, that you exist, in order for like you to make money. And like four people telling their friends, even if all four of them tell five of their friends, like it's just not like, you need that mechanism.
Yeah, so somebody said so many of these boil down to the distance versus presence trend, which is very interesting. So we believe that like all of these things are like the same trend basically. We were just talking about them from different angles, I think, but they all kind of stack together. And hopefully, like somebody earlier was like, when are you going to move on from like retailers to direct sales? But the reason that we're okay with hanging out at any one of these ones is because they all are like the same thing. They all build on each other. And so I think hopefully from the whole conversation, you kind of have a better idea of like where the future of publishing is going as a result. And a lot of the things that we're talking about, especially like the thing about newsletters, for example, we're hoping to bring some of the companies that focus on newsletters to our Writer MBA conference, to the author event, because we yeah, like they don't know us, they don't hear from us. Like if they don't hear from us, they can't build tools that help us and like our particular needs in business. And the same is true for like gamification. There's lots of interesting stuff going on in that niche that we would like to bring to the event. And so I think that's where Writer MBA Con is going to be very cool, is like it's not just about these trends, it's also like bringing in companies that can really support us as we move through these trends and kind of balance from like, these I guess like best practices that were kind of ruling the independent publishing industry for many, many years.
And I think you see
So
that
yeah,
in,
go ahead.
like, I mean, not to get on our favorite hobby horse, but like Taylor Swift, I think is a really good example of
We
like
had to mention her.
some, well, just the music industry in general is one that swung so hard to one way and then came back, and like they still haven't really found a livable equilibrium, but like they're much like more comfortable living in the like, well, discoverability on Spotify drives people coming to my shows, drives people coming to my websites. And like Taylor Swift is like, there are four different versions of my new album, and like there's a Target
Right.
exclusive one and there's a Walmart
Yeah.
exclusive one, and like you have to go to these, like they're like going out of their way to like make things that like bring retailers back after years of them like kind of trashing retailers. Like, not that there wasn't some like very, very, very legitimate gripes that like music people have. They are the same gripes that we have. And like the film industry is another one where like I think the film industry was one that like really pretty early was like, we have to be direct because I need $1 million to make this movie. And but like they're starting to be like, and there's not that many theaters to show them in. So like there are so many bullet points of different industries in the publishing economy. RPGs for years, like there were no stores for RPGs. And then like direct sales allowed them to like get back in stores. And then those stores allowed them to like get into like retailer consortiums and such. So like there's, it's one of those things where like probably you want to like I would still say you probably want to like start Kickstarter first and then use that to like build up your casual reader presence. But like you need some sort of balance. As much as I like being all or nothing, you just have to live in balance.
Yes. So this all brings us to our bonus trend that we've talked about a lot at the Future of Publishing Mastermind, and that is automation. And so we had a number of talks about this. So one was Mallory Cooper's talk on advertising. So Facebook ads are moving much more towards automation. She talked a lot about how to kind of unautomate some aspects of it that would help with targeting a little bit more. So somebody asked, can you target psychographics um, through advertising platforms. It really depends. I think that I don't think it's just Facebook. I think a lot of platforms are going toward like, you just like give us like your image and your copy, and we are going to like completely automate how to find people to like hit your goal, whether
Right.
that goal is conversion or clicking or just viewing or engagement or whatever. Like we will find people who can take that action.
Yeah, you
And
can though
there's,
upload your
yeah,
own people. And
you
like that
can.
kind of is psychographic. Like you can upload like your own customer list and kind of you are targeting those psychographics. But no, like really you have to pick an interest that has similar psychographics if you're going to play that game, and then like probably do well. I mean, there's just you have the Facebook ads course, which has like a whole bunch on horizontal and vertical scaling, which like is all of the things that you would do given that.
Yes. So another question about this was, can you share more specific examples on how we can harness AI to be in more places? Thank you. I don't use a ton of AI. I know I should. Russell, I think,
Well, I
uses
think we're doing
some as
Zapier
well.
though.
Yes,
Like,
I was getting to that. Like
oh,
I was just
sorry.
saying, like we don't use a lot of AI. We did have a talk by Shell Honecker, who is fantastic. She did one on Zapier, and it's so eye opening. Just the number of things that you can actually automate through Zapier. So she gave us a bunch of ideas, and it just like that to me is where I can start. Like the thing I realized is like I will do like everything basically by hand forever and ever, and like never think to automate anything. And so she really just gave us a lot of ideas, I think.
Yeah, so like for instance, you could write a post and then have and then through Zapier have ChatGPT turn it into a like a post that would work on like Twitter or Facebook or and then just like have them pre-do that, and then like another Zap would like make those ready to share, and then like you would go in and finalize it, and like you would just hit your so like you're writing the same one article on, well, not Substack because there's no API integration, but like uh
Boo.
on WordPress, you're writing one blog post, and then Zapier is doing a lot of the other work in conjunction with ChatGPT. You would need Pro or Plus. So like
Right.
it's not free, but like for
No, it's not.
$20 a month,
Yeah.
it will like it's like probably worth it if you're going to try and automate things. Um, yeah, so I'm very sure that Hootsuite and other places will probably have this same thing available like soon, because like why would like they'll get more clients. So like why would they not have it? Um
Right. Yes, I mean, I think the other side of this, so I think there's automation. I think so. We talked about that. We talked a lot about. We had a whole panel on AI, as we noted, and for that, gosh, there's so much you can do with AI. It'd be impossible to like give all the examples. But then I think the other thing that we have, like Russell and I have been doing, is we've been doing more outsourcing, and we're both like trying to just like outsource more stuff. I think that there was like a real, I think there was, especially in 2023, like with all these platforms kind of having their little like bell of the ball moment, like Kickstarter with Brandon Sanderson, and like Ream is having like a moment, and like all these platforms are having their moment, Shopify, whatever. It's like people are overwhelmed, like authors are overwhelmed. Like not only do you have to be on like all the retailers now, you also have to be on all the direct sales platforms and it's like it's just so much. And one of the big points at this was like you cannot do it on your own, if you are trying to scale. And so again, Future Publishing Mastermind, it was a lot of more established authors, but just so many of us are one shop stops, and we got there somehow, like somehow clawed our way to like high five figures or six figures or even seven figures, like without help. um, but like we were all like, okay, we've got to like definitely automate, but we also have to delegate. And being able to do that well, I think is going to be really important going forward. Finding like actual subject matter experts in these various platforms is extremely important. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. Like if you know a platform really well, and you are wanting to offer services or whatever, like there's just so much opportunity to really help people because we don't like aside from like me and Russell being like crazy people, like most people do not have time to like dive deep into every platform and learn how to do marketing and sales on it. So like there's just such a greater need for like people who know how to do things on like one specific platform.
Absolutely.
All right. Uh, Speaking of that, if you were going to start on the direct sales platforms, which one would you recommend? I think we both
Kickstarter.
recommend Kickstarter. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's time based. Like do a 2 week campaign. We have a Kickstarter book and a Kickstarter course about it. But like, yeah, I mean, Kickstarter is a great first step because you can only possibly do it for 60 days. That is the maximum amount of time you could have a Kickstarter, and then you will done. And if you hate direct sales, regroup. If you love direct sales, you can go deeper.
Somebody had a question about Substack. Having one out of four Substack newsletters public and free, is it a good idea or bad idea?
I mean, I think you want at least 50% free, so I would say a bad idea, but it sounds like that comment is like they don't like that there's anything free. So I don't know. Like, so I have everything free on my Substack, except I have like 650 like exclusive posts, which are like old interviews and courses and like articles from the complete creative. But like everything I release is free. And like, I don't know, it works pretty good. Like I think that people are pretty happy. And why I did that was because I asked a bunch of people, and every single one of them said, I just want to support you. I just want to help you make the thing and like put more stuff into the world. And I was like, oh, well, like I'll just make more things then. Like, okay, like if this be your Freedom Day request, like I can make that happen. Um, so I don't know. I used to be, I mean, we used to have our own app for Wannabe Press, and like it just like I slowly just been more and more and more convinced that like you want to find people when they want to be found, and like they don't want to be when they want to be found, the last thing they want is like to read half an article and be like, now pay to unlock it. I feel like at some point Kickstarter Substack is going to have to allow you to like free paywall something, so at least it's free to subscribers, or like unlock it or something, because like it is it it's a brutal choice you have to make. Currently I still think more free is better, but maybe, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how the Substack works, but like 25% seems like way too low.
Yeah, I would say most of mine is free as well, though things go to archive after 4 weeks, which I think is, I think it's a reasonable strategy. I also think you can put like your best performing stuff, like put it on Medium or put it on your website as well, especially if you know that it's going to like bring in people. So yeah, I don't know, there's a lot of different ways to manage that, but I don't know. The person said please clarify that it's not because, wait, please clarify.
It's
Oh,
not
that it's
because
not because I'm afraid to give the stuff away. It's a comment from a user, not me. Okay, yep. Sorry. I guess I read it wrong the original time. But yeah, I don't I think I also think like, gosh, when you are growing, like one user having feedback is like not enough. Like you need like depending on the size of your audience, you need a lot of people to be saying the same thing before you like really
yeah.
shift your strategy.
Well, so here's the thing. Like probably, I mean, Monica, you charge $10 a month, right? It's like,
I have moved it to 5
oh,
because
well,
of
Well, I mean, honestly, like if someone pays me $100 a month, like I'm just gonna do the thing that I want to do. Otherwise, I'll go get a job. Like you're latching yourself into like the like believing what like I am doing, we are doing, and like you are welcome to like make a different choice, but I don't know. Like I think about this all the time because like I have been starting to get gun shy. So one of the hardest parts of subscriptions is like I'm starting to get gun shy sometimes about like will this lead to like
Right.
somebody unsubscribing? And I have to keep telling me, I'm
Same.
like,
Yeah.
it's $50. Like, I don't know. Like, do I care about $50 a year really enough to like change my entire business around like that I believe in? I think like when if you are pre-vision, like you don't necessarily have a vision of what you're trying to do, or like you don't know your audience well enough yet of like what they need slash what they want, it's probably a lot harder. Like you need to you probably rely on them a lot more, or like if you're a desert or like depending on your thing. But like I don't know, man, like if I believe in something, I just don't care if someone like for I don't care about $50. And like I can't, because like I could go make 200 grand at like a sales job if I like wanted to care about what other people thought and lock myself into money.
Yeah, it's tough. And it really depends on where you're at in your career. Like I want to put that out there. I know both Russell and I are tend to be at the same places in our career. We also have like a company together, so our careers are like similar in many ways. But like I know for myself as well, like I've definitely written books that I know will do well, and there was a time and place for that in my career in building my audience. And now I'm at a place where I am going to do my weird thing no matter what because I have an audience. Like there's a privilege that comes with like having that audience already. Where it's like you can, going back to like the casual readers versus fandom, like people are more trusting to like go on a weird journey with you and your books or whatever. Like they're more interested, and they're more excited to be part of your journey. And if you're not there and you're building an audience, I think it can be helpful to just be a little bit more, be broader, I guess.
I also think if you're
So
like in
yeah.
a if you're in a so season where you're like putting a bunch of emails in, if you're like doing a if you're bringing a lot of like the thing that allows me to do that is like make like get like 3 to 5 thousand. We get like 3 to 5 thousand new subscribers a month. So like I don't know, like it's probably gonna work out. So like oftentimes it's a function of like how are you like growth in, not so much like subscriber out, because like that one subscriber means a lot.
Right. Yeah, yeah, I agree. Like, man, yeah, we could talk about this for a while. There's one more question and then we're gonna talk about the conference again. So the question is, the problem I see with outsourcing is that authors who have fought their way up did it on shoestrings. They balk hard at professional rates, even when the expert can help. What are the thoughts on managing this? I mean, I think there are so many authors that at this point, if you like here's the thing, like if you can provide true value, then like you will get the money in return. Like that's like what I see more than anything. Like we work with seven figure authors. We like had like a lot of seven figure authors at this event, like these established authors who, yeah, like people are interested, um and like you just have to be able to provide the value. So I don't really know the situation, but
So
yeah,
my
that's
feeling, oh, you have
no,
more to
go
say,
go for
sorry.
it. No, no, no.
So my feeling is that most people who want to work with us, including ones that we want to work with, do not know what they are offering us. Like if so like a an author need like if you're going to an author, you need to say, I know you want to set up a Shopify store. Give me $50,000 and I'll make you $150,000 because I've
Right.
done it before like 10
Mm-hmm.
times. And like I don't know, like Pierre's rates were very expensive. And like a lot of people were like, I'm gonna just pay him to do it because like
Right.
I don't have to think about it. what you're really doing if you're like trying to get into the high end of the market is like take something off someone's plate. Every person that we have like brought in as a consultant or as a contractor has said, I can run a conference. I can like manage this thing. Like you just it's off your plate and like it's your thing you struggle with. Just give me this amount of money and I will like not do that anymore. And what I find when I talk to people who are not that, I go, well, what are you? It's like, I want to work with you. And it's like, what are you offering? And they're like, I don't know. I just want to like, I can do a whole bunch of stuff for you. I'll even do it for free. And you're like, but I don't want free.
Yeah,
I never want to get another email for a free book again because like I never want another free book. Like I want the best book that's gonna like take me where I
right.
want to go in the exact way. Like there's a lot of people at the like that are not in the place that I'm at and like do want just free books and like an infinite numbers of free books because like I don't know for some reason but like I've read all the I've read so many free books and I'm like I hate all of them or
Yeah,
like
it's not
most of
even like
them
worth your time. Yeah.
so it's like I need someone if someone was like here's give me $30 and like I'll give you three books that you'll love or like your money like I would be like so into that so like and I don't know where this person is at, but like that is what I see in myself and in people around us.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think like that's almost like a trend of its own is like there are lots of free groups that there's lots of information in, and there are lots of questions that you will not get answered or will not get answered well in those groups. And you need, like, that's one reason I think that you want to come to Writer MBA Con
Yes.
is because of that. It's like you can actually just get your question answered by like somebody who is an expert in it. You can talk to them like as like they're just at the event, and you don't necessarily, that can even kind of be before you like decide to work with them on a deeper level. Like
Yeah.
they're here to kind of answer your questions. It's true of like retailers. It's true of distributors. It's true of publishers. It's true of agencies. It's true of software companies and platforms. Like just being able, like marketing companies, like we had written word media there, for example, but it's like you can just like get a question answered. And to me, that's like the value of going to a conference.
Yeah.
Besides the networking, like of course networking is great too. Even like talking to other authors who are like a little bit ahead of you, like they're not going to post a comment on your question in a group because they don't want like it doesn't really serve them to do so, but they are very open with their knowledge when you are chatting with them in person, or
Yeah.
they're more willing to help you there.
On top of that, like this whole business, when you're at you're at a certain level, like runs on referrals. And I will be honest, if you are still on this call and you are an author service provider, every single one of you should apply for the mastermind because like all of the people that were at the mastermind are working with all of the other people at the mastermind, and that is not like what I expected. Like I did not expect like just like they're like okay. Pierre does Shopify. Like when I need Shopify, this is a and Mal does Facebook ads. Like they just all were like ended at some point saying that's my big thing and that's the person who can solve it. And like
Right.
it's because like they other people in the room were vouching for them and like they could see their face and like there's so many other people who were seven-figure authors and like and so like that is where almost all business gets done even if not today like Nink like 20 book well not Author Nation like there's like right our conference there's like 5 10 maybe 10 conferences in the country that like seven-figure authors go to in like a large number and like that is where they communicate together and tell each other who they're working with and like I don't know like ours is for sure one of them because like I watched it happen.
Yeah. So writermba.com/conference. I agree with Russell. Future of Publishing Mastermind. It's definitely a place where things are happening, where even like like a lot of the vendors did one-on-one consults with people. And, it's like basically everywhere aside from Amazon, like, and even parts of Amazon are actually have this, but like everywhere aside from Amazon, like it helps to know somebody at the company. It helps you a lot. They can get you more visibility. They can, put your books on a short list for promotion. Like they can just do so much more. They can answer your questions, being able to email them about things. Like you can just get stuff that is not sign up a bowl for, like, if that makes
Right.
sense. And so having those personal relationships with platforms, like I would say that that's been a part of our success, at least for both of us,
Yeah,
is like
huge.
having those, yeah, like
I mean, I learned that from Monica, and I was like, oh, we just need to have relationships with platforms, and then like good things happen. Like I can have
right.
great relationships with platforms. And so
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I
I
mean, you
mean,
already had that with Kickstarter though too. Like,
yeah,
for like you built that relationship. And it helped us like immediately with our first joint campaign.
yeah.
So
And I,
yeah, I think it's really valuable. It's like a really valuable part of coming to a conference. And our conference, I think, is probably one of the most platform friendly conferences in the
for sure.
world.
Yeah.
Um,
And the future of publishing one specifically, because we vet everyone, like there is a much more like, oh, you've been vetted by Monica and Russell and Mel and Tadra, and like you're not a psychopath. Like you deserve to be in this room. Like I'm now going to probably do a little bit more for you because you were in this room. Not because like
right.
you're in the room, but like at least part of it because I trust Monica and Russell's taste. So
Yes. Okay, so one of the questions, if I do attend pay for the conference and I cannot attend the conference, can I get a refund on my seat? Can I transfer my seat? How does that work? We have a no refund policy on the events, but you are able to transfer. So if it's Future of Publishing Mastermind, they can just fill out the application. You can transfer your ticket to them. We have no issue with that. If we have a wait list for Future of Publishing Mastermind, we will put your ticket like on the wait list. Um, and for the writer MBA con, it's open to everyone. So yeah, you could absolutely just transfer it. So you could sell your ticket if you want, or you can, yeah, just transfer it to somebody if you're like, oh, I just want to give this
yeah.
ticket to a friend.
Even if you're in the
Perfectly
middle of the
fine.
payment, like we can probably find a way to like make it
Yeah.
work for you to like transfer just like the second half of the payment, let's say, to like some other person's account. We had to do that.
Hmm.
Like we want
We
you
can do
there.
that. Yeah.
Like Monica and Russell want you there, especially if you've been listening to us for 2 hours and you're still like with us. Like we absolutely want you to be there, and like we'll do a lot to try and make it that to get that to happen.
Yeah, and these are the conversations that we're having at the Future Publishing Mastermind. I feel like these trends conversations are really what everybody is kind of focused on. And we weren't like, honestly, like we can't condense a 2 or 3 day event into like 2 hours. So we can't tell you, like we weren't able to say like what all the presentations were and like all the tips and all that stuff. So I think that's where it's like coming in person just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and we ended early on the future of publishing, so like you guys can do networking stuff, and like we have just we're it's set up to like both of the events are set up to get you around as many other humans as possible, like that are on the same journey as you.
All right. So, Future Publishing Mastermind, it's application only. It's $2,000 for the attendees, and then you can do a 10 pay. So, like, it's only $200 a month. So you can, after you apply, you can secure your spot for $200, which is a pretty good deal, I think. When you come to the Future of Publishing Mastermind, you will get 2 days of the Future Publishing Mastermind. You will get a vendor day where you can talk to all the vendors. You can also, that probably isn't going to take you the full day. So uh, you probably do that in an hour or two. And set up meetings with them or whatever your goal is. And then you can do kind of like sightseeing or just take a break or whatever. And then you will get 3 days of the Writer MBA conference. And the Writer MBA conference is really cool because it'll just have more presentations. So if in the future of Publishing Mastermind, you're like, I definitely think that like Kickstarter is my next thing, then you can go to Writer MBA Con and you can go to the Kickstarter talk and you can meet with the Kickstarter rep. And it's just a way to like kind of like curate your experience, I would say. The Future of Publishing Mastermind also has it has meals included. It ends at like 4 to 5 p.m. And then you have the evenings free. So if you're an introvert, that works out pretty well. And we're doing like break time as well. We're trying to extend some of the break time to make it just to easier on the introverts, I would say. Obviously, Russell and I are both kind of extroverted, so we didn't think about that as much this year. What else? So yeah, 2000. Let's see. Somebody. Well, let's answer some questions.
Talked
Yeah,
about,
go.
well, we talked, I want to talk about two things. First,
Yeah.
you also get for this price all of our courses for like the
Oh
life of the
yes.
course. So like, if you're like, I don't know, like I kind of want to take the courses, I kind of want to do the other thing, like even for that $200 fee, if you do this, like you get access to all of our courses. Like, so it's a pretty good deal. That only happens one time. If you already have our courses, like email us and you want to come, like email us. We'll try and find do something for you if you if you need something. But yeah, I mean the biggest thing is like getting the course bundle by itself is $1,000. So like you're only paying $1,000 for this over time. And for the vendors, we have one-on-one booking links that we send out for the vendors. So you can just literally go to the site and like sign up for the for meeting with them. Also, what we learned at this event is introverts don't do events unless they're invited. So like we like started just saying, I'm gonna go to the bar now. And like
Yes. We
also
will invite you so that you
yes.
don't feel like you have to stay in your hotel room.
Yes. Additionally, like you'll be at the round, like they'll be well at the regular event there'll be round tables with vendors, and then like there'll be breakthrough sessions, and the vendors are in the room during Future of Publishing Mastermind. One of the things people said they liked so much was that like they could just talk to vendors, and like vendors were asking them questions about like what they need and like their problems to like make it more interactive. Like they felt like they were actually like being heard in that way. And so like we're going to set it this year. We had like kind of vendor meetings on top of everything. And we're going to make it so there's, I think as Monica said, like just more breakout time. So like so like vendors will be in the room, hopefully during the breakthrough sessions and like during all of the major events. So yes, we will. If you come to the Future of Publishing Mastermind and you want to meet somebody and you don't, like you can just come to me and say, I want to meet that person, and I will introduce you to that person. And like
Same.
anyone who's on this call who was there can tell you, like, neither of us have a problem doing that for anyone who comes to the Future of Publishing Mastermind, because you have to be approved to be there. So we know
Right.
that you belong there.
Yeah. And I mean, if you like, let's say like you haven't met us in person or like, because like we basically knew almost everybody who came. There were some people who didn't come, but like we both like we definitely like it's a small enough event to where we like went around and like made sure we met everybody. So like you will know us at the event. And I think that's really important, especially if you're just like nervous. You will know us and we will introduce you to more people. And we are, we're very like hands-on at Future Publishing Mastermind. The other event, the Writer MBA Con, it's going to be a little bit bigger. we still like want to chat with everyone. We'll be around to chat with everyone. We want to meet you still. It'll be a little bit bigger, but we can still help you navigate. And we'll be putting together just more stuff about like things that you can do in New Orleans, which like we learned a lot on this trip. Um, we'll again like we basically are like at the bar downstairs like the whole time, and Russell doesn't drink, so like don't feel like for a while I didn't drink because I was very pregnant. But like like whether you drink or not, you can still hang out with us, and we're
I do
hoping
like
that
to buy drinks.
yes, we're happy to do stuff like that.
And
Yeah,
and
so
and
we're gonna welcome you. We
yes,
would just want you to know.
and more people, and like throughout the rest of the event, like the future of publishing people, I'm not going to say will be our first priority, but we will have already spent 2 days with you, so like we'll hopefully know like what your needs are that may not have been met, or like where to send you, or like how to get the most of the conference, because you will have been there already. Not to say knowing Monica and Russell is like a pretty good thing, but like at our event, it's a pretty good thing, like to like know the people. And I mean, we did the whole Writer MBA event conference partially because like a lot of people said 100 people is not enough to get me down to New Orleans. So, but I want to come to the future of publishing if it's bigger, and partially because like we wanted to have a place where everyone could like build back up with the tools from the future of publishing mastermind, or learn those tools and then eventually come to the future of publishing mastermind. So like we are very interested in you guys continuing to be successful, and to and that is, yeah, I mean, I think everyone should come to the
Yes.
event. It's so good.
We're super excited about it. So again, for the Writer MBA conference, it's open to everybody. And it's a 3-day conference, so it's a really good value. It's $500 for attendees. And you can have a 10 monthly payments of $50 to secure your spot. So it's actually like a really easy thing to say yes to. Um, and like the whole experience, the hotel is great. Like we're going to have a hotel guide for you. We're gonna make sure that you're well taken care of, like we said. If you're more of an industry guest, so if you're more of a solopreneur, you want to do editing or whatever, make sure you get the industry guest pass. And again, we have a 10 monthly payment plan if you'd like that. And the goal of that is really, it's really that you're vetted, it's that you're in integrity as well. Cause, obviously, like it takes a lot to put a conference on. So we want to make sure that we know who you are, first of all, if you're working with people at the conference. But we also, we just want you to feel like we know that you have to like the event has to make business sense for you as well. So we want you to feel comfortable with like I think a big part of our event that's different from maybe some other events is that we're very comfortable with people like sharing what they do, and like talking about like the course they've created or whatever it is. Like we're trying to connect people who are serious about authorship and like building a business as a writer with people who are able to provide like things for the like resources for those people. So like we're very comfortable with like business being done at events, where I think other events, it's like a lot of events that we've gone to are like authors who are sharing what they have done and what has worked for them. And we're very like we're just very like pro company, pro service provider.
Yeah.
And which
And
is not
we've
to say, yeah, go ahead.
and you've been, and like we've been vendors. I've vended at 150 shows, most of them without Monica, but like also with Monica, like we vend at multiple shows a year. So like we know what it's like what it's like, and like what the constraints are, and how to better hopefully service those people. I do want to say, like, if you have a book, let's like how to like I code a website, how to make a website, and like you just want to be like, I'm gonna say my book is great, and like I'm gonna tell people about the book, and we're not saying like you should get the industry guest pass for like that thing. The industry guest badge is like for people who are trying to book meetings at the and like book business at the show, who are speaking and want to speak about their product on stage. Not like, oh yeah, go buy my book. I have like this, but like this is my product and like all the things tie back in the product into that product. So like I also don't want to make it seem like if you say one word about like that you do author services, like we're gonna like come down on you. But like,
Yeah. Well, and you get like a vendor table. Like
right,
that's the other thing. It's not like, oh, you're an industry guest and you're just like allowed to like talk about your service or product or whatever. You will get a vendor table at vendor day. You will be able to do the one-on-one sessions. You will be able to like pitch a workshop or pitch a talk if you want. And so like there are like specific benefits to it, and we will send out those guidelines as well, because I don't think we talked much about those guidelines, but and like laid them out for people. But yeah, like most people are probably attendees. If you are somebody who is, servicing the author industry in a trustworthy way, like we'd love to have you as an industry guest, and you can upgrade it at a later point as well. If you're like, I want to get my ticket and secure my ticket, but I'm not sure if I'm an industry guest. I'm not sure if I'm a sponsor. Like we can just upgrade you like later. So
right.
I would say like get the attendee ticket. Um, now so that you can secure your spot and then you can chat with our team.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, I just want to say one thing. You should want to be an industry guest because like we have done it and we have been both an attendee and an industry guest and like the like people like some shows will have like a like a different badge color or something like that to denote it, and like it's way easier to book meetings and do things when like the event is like, yep, I'm there, like this is a
right,
person. Like it's so much easier to like host an event if like you're allowed to host an event. Like, am I gonna say you can't go get like you tell people you have like 20 you have seats for 20 people at somewhere? No, but like it's way easier if like you can use the conference app. It's just way easier if like you can do all of these things, and like it's way easier for people to lower their shoulders around you and like feel good about like conversing with you.
right. It's really like leading. I mean, the reason that we have been invited to places to speak as like basically an author speaking about what we've done. But like we decided to upgrade ourselves to like sponsors or vendors or like there's different lingo or whatever, industry guests, whatever. Like we kind of upgrade ourselves just to be like, this is why we're actually here, is like we want to like sell our course, or we want to we want to find people who are right for our course or who are excited about Kickstarter and like want to be a part of this cohort that we're running. Like, and I think it's just there's like a level of integrity to it, but it's also like, what is the thing you're leading with? Like, am I really leading with like I'm an author who has done some cool things, or am I leading with like I have a course that will solve your problem? And so that's why we made that shift, and why we like wanted to make sure there was like a path for that at our event, because it's going to come up either way. So okay. Do you want to? I mean, I'm pretty much done
Yeah, I
talking
mean,
about
I feel
this.
like
Go
everyone, I
to
mean, go to here, I'll put the link in here, right
go
here.
to writer for the people listening afterwards. Go to writermba.com/conference to read all about the conference, and definitely send us your questions if you have any questions. Support@writermba.com is where you can send questions not anonymously to us, but like privately, I guess, to us. Send us your questions so that we can help you decide if you want to go, find the right ticket, whatever it is. Um, Yeah, thanks so much for everybody who came to this.
Yes. And like I just one last thing is like I don't know, I've never seen like a conference offer a 10 pay $50 a month thing like without you having to like sign up for a new credit card or like do an Affirm or Afterpay. So like I don't know, like I'm not saying we are the only one, but like we try our best. We I just want to point it out as a bullet point for like we try our best to accommodate every single person in a way that is that like makes sense for them. That said, thank you everyone so much. And oh, almost exactly the amount of time we're normally over a 2 hour call. So we'll say goodbye there. Bye, Monica. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.